If you guys have followed this channel for a little while, then you'll probably know that one of my favourite types of video to make on this channel is a video that focuses on the work of other photographers. You know, whether it's an interview, behind the scenes with another photographer, or one of these style videos that we're going to be doing today, which is simply looking through the work of some of my favourite photographers. A couple years back I did a video and it was called 21 film photographers that you should know in 2021, and the reception was great. Like, people really enjoyed it, people really enjoyed finding out about new photographers, and so because of that I thought it would be a good idea to make like a short series and do like a few of these videos where I would talk about like landscape photographers, music photographers, film photographers, portrait photographers, etc. And whilst you guys said you liked those videos, you preferred the ones where I would sit down and talk to you about why I like those photos and why I like those photographers. So I'm taking this opportunity to make another in-depth, long-form video about 10 photographers that I love the work of. Some of them you might already know, some of them you might have never heard of before, and that is the beauty of these kinds of videos. So here is a list of 10 of my favourite photographers right now, all contemporary photographers and all working within the portrait and fashion genres. So first up, we're going to start off with a photographer who I have definitely spoken about on this channel. In fact, a couple of months ago, I even did a whole video with this photographer where I was able to follow her in studio and show you guys how she directs her models, how she uses amazing continuous light setups. So Holly is a London-based fashion photographer whose work within lighting is something that I am forever in awe of. You guys know that I'm very into learning about studio lighting, whether that be continuous or strobe lighting. Holly's use of lighting is absolutely amazing. She has a TikTok account where she just posts kind of like behind the scenes of her shoots and also like breakdowns. So she'll show you like, oh, here's a shoot that she did and this is what lights she used, this is the lighting setup and why. So if you are also interested in learning about studio photography, definitely check out Holly. I'm going to put her socials and everything in the description as well. This next photographer fast became one of my favourite photographers. I first saw his work a couple of years ago. Since then, I have visited his London exhibition, which shows off some of his amazing work. Campbell excels in capturing expressive portraits, often playing with mixed media approaches, which I find very interesting. So he paints as well, for example, and sometimes he'll mix that in with his photography work. Campbell has photographed everyone from like Beyonce to Meghan Markle. He's an amazing portrait and fashion photographer. So again, everyone will be linked in the description of this video. So this next photographer, I've only just recently, within like the last week, found out about. But I was instantly enamored by the way that she captures youth, youth fashion. Marina's recent behind the scenes and portrait work for the new Troye Sivan music video is what first caught my eye, and particularly in the way that she uses colour and lighting. You guys all know that for me, those are the kind of two main things that kind of communicate emotion within photography, especially portrait photography, and I think that Marina does that really brilliantly. Next up is a photographer whose use of colour and tonality in his work is what first drew me in. Not only that, but Henry's studio work makes use of simple but dramatic lighting setups. The lighting that he uses for these portraits are really perfect in creating impactful portraits. The next photographer is not only one of my favourite photographers right now and has been for quite a long time, but also someone that I have been honoured enough to work with on a couple of occasions. The pure magic of Jenny's photos so seamlessly transcends from her work in live music and then beyond into her portrait work. I've never really known of a photographer who captures light and movement as beautifully as Jenny does. She works across mediums, but you can't really tell in a good way. Like, the qualities of her work blend quite seamlessly, so you can't tell if it's shot on film or if it's shot digitally, etc. I first saw the work from this next photographer in a fashion story for Elle Mexico, and it definitely didn't take me long after delving into his other work to realise that Izack's great use of colour, posing and sense of location is something that extends across his whole body of work. I'm particularly a fan of the wide angle lenses that he often uses, the way that he poses the models to kind of complement that wide angle look. So in case you hadn't worked it out yet, for me, colour, lighting, tones, those are the things for me that make an amazing photo, amazing portrait. Of course there are other things, but those really, in terms of technical elements, is what helps me kind of fall in love with a photo. This photographer is able to tick off lighting, tick off tones, tick off colour straight away. The way that William is able to communicate mood so effectively is down to the way that he uses his use of lighting, his use of colour and tone in each of his shoots in a similar way as not to kind of like deviate from his distinctive style, but also in a way that lends itself to the vibe of each one of his shoots. Next up is a photographer whose work inside and outside of the studio is equally as beautiful as each other. The dramatics of Christina's studio work, paired with her strong use of colour, transcends beautifully into her work shot on location, such as this beautiful editorial for Elle, again I think it was Elle UK. This photo of the model on the beach, which I believe was actually shot at night time, is one of my favourite photos that I've seen recently. You know, I haven't, maybe I'm missing something, but I haven't ever seen this kind of shot before where you take studio lighting, shoot it on a beach, but at night time. I think that's kind of, you know, ingenious. It looks like a set, it looks like a studio setup, but it's a very simple kind of idea, I guess. So the work of this next photographer first caught my eye on an editorial she did with the British rapper Stormzy. Her extreme use of colour, both in the fashion that she shoots, but also in her choice of backdrops and lighting, works effortlessly with the simple but exaggerated sets that she shoots upon. For me, Jenny's work is nothing short of hugely inspiring, especially as someone that wants to get a little bit more into set design, working with more elaborate sets in the studio. I think it's really interesting to see how she is able to create that elaborative, high fashion look, but in quite a simple and small scale. So the final photographer that I want to talk about in today's video is an absolute master of portraits. The range of Mark's photos is so vast, varying from, you know, really close, cropped, intimate portraiture to more expressive fashion moments. You know, if there's ever a photographer that can show range and show it done well, it's Mark. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's a little bit of a quicker video than usual, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this collection of photographers and photography. If there's any photographers that you've recently come across that you want to share, then please do drop me a comment and let me know who I need to be checking out. As I mentioned, all of the photographers that have been featured in today's video will be listed in the description. But a massive thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next one.